Good morning and welcome to the Hometown Church podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have a very special episode. Just a couple weeks ago, we had our annual men's game feed, and this is one of the biggest events that we have as a church every single year. It's a big outreach event where we have a bunch of men come to the church, and we have a little bit of music. We have some sort of speaker there, and we get to share the gospel with a lot of people who wouldn't normally come into the church to do that. And then we just eat a lot of really good food, and it is a ton of fun. It's one of our biggest hits that we've been doing for a very long time. And so today we have a very special guest, Jim Palo. How you doing today, Jim? Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for joining us. And Jim has been a part of the game feed since the very start. And Jim has a very incredible story, and he was actually able to share this last time at the game feed, his own story, his own testimony, and it was just a really powerful message. And so I asked Jim to come on today to share his story, share a little bit about the history of the game feed and what that's meant to him and how that has evolved over the years. So thank you, Jim, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. So let's maybe just kick off this conversation by introducing yourself for people who might not know you very well.
Sure. Yeah, I've been part of this church. My wife and I have been for 32 years. We have 4 children, 5 grandchildren. We started at Bloomington here, church planted Lakeville, and then church planted the Urban Refuge, came back to Lakeville. I think we've been there 22 years. And really been part of the men's ministry for 20 plus years. So yeah, that's kind of the history of Lakeville here. So yeah, I got saved at 16. I don't know if that was a question you were going to ask, but
yeah, you can just kind of share everything about yourself.
I kind of through a family crisis. My father was an alcoholic, and I came to the Lord through that. But really, nothing changed until we landed here at Hometown 32 years ago. So
great, yeah. Yeah, I remember you were. I've been a part of the church since I was born, and so you're one of those people that I just remember being there always. I remember running around with your kids and stuff through teens and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a pleasure getting to know you over my whole life, really, and having you in my life. I really appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about the game feed. Because you were a part of starting the game feed all the way back. When did it start?
The actual game feed started 19 years ago. We missed 1 year for COVID, but so we've had 18 years of the game feed. So 18 years. So I don't know what year that was, but
yeah, 18 years. So 19 years ago. What are we? 2026? So like 2007.
Sounds right. Yeah, kind of pretty close to when we moved into Lakeville.
Okay. Yeah. And so how did that kind of get started? Like what was the steps that you guys took to get that started, and what was kind of the purpose behind it when you did start it? Yeah,
I guess really kind of how it started really goes back about 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I had an event up at my farm in northern Minnesota at my family farm that there was probably 15 people there. And really kind of ironically, Mike Russell was there, who was single. Mm-hmm. And now he's an integral part of the game feed. He runs kind of half of it. He's ran big parts, but we kind of separated this year, trying to give people more responsibility. I've been a part of men's Bible studies, been part of fishing weekends on Big Stone. Actually, Mike Langley's was part of those years ago. Mm-hmm. We ran across a picture recently, and Mike looked a little bit younger in that picture. And then we had men's overnights out at the Hikas farm in the beginning of it was kind of the precursor to all this. We'd set up revival tents and have a speaker and camp out. It was pretty crude, It was, you were probably at some of those. So
yeah, I remember being there when I was really young. My dad was a part of it, Yeah, I remember running around. Like I don't have like solid memories, but I just remember like little flashes, from
Yeah.
when you're young and running around doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we played paintball one year out there, or
Yeah,
maybe a couple years. So
yeah,
I remember getting shot by some people that I had taken advantage of earlier in life, and they got me back out there. And then we had father-daughter dances. Uh, that was kind of another thing that I started, which was pretty cool. I still see pictures of that. And then we'd meet at the 401k cafe. You were probably too young for some of that. You
yeah,
may not even remember any or been a part of that, but we were just kind of cutting our teeth doing these things. And then we finally got a building, and we'd kind of, it was kind of our dream. There was a group of guys that kind of had hunting and fishing backgrounds. They were kind of unique. Lakeville's unique. We got a bunch of guys that like to hunt and fish, and we'd always sit around and talk about it. And then we were like, oh, we should have a game feed. But when we got a building, then we did it, and kind of turned that passion into something that was, more of something we could use for God. Not just telling stories in the lobby and showing pictures on our phone. And then it's kind of it evolved, from that. Really, we had a mission statement in the beginning, or I came up with a mission statement. It was turning men's heart to God, family, and church. Kind of loosely based on Malachi 4:6, which says, "He will turn the hearts of the parent to their children, and the hearts of children to their parents." And that was kind of what I thought. I tried to, I want to have 3 events that, we had an outreach. We had father daughter, and then those teachings. So kind of tried to hit those 3 points.
yeah,
Was it, and then finally the game feed was the outreach. Really
yeah,
in the end. So kind of evolved once the building came into play. It was hard to think outside the box. We're used to taking things out of a box and setting up in a church, and
yeah.
once we had this freedom, it's like, wow, we can do some new things.
Yeah, absolutely. That gave way to a lot of new possibilities.
Yeah.
Because I remember some people might not know, but Lakeville used to meet at Lakeville North High School.
Yes.
And those are like my earliest memories of going to church was at that high school. We'd meet in the little auditorium,
Yeah.
and we'd go break out in the classrooms for kids and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to think back. It was probably around 2007 then. Was it like right away when we got in the building?
I think it was within the first year or so.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Older.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. It was when, yeah, because I don't remember exactly when that point was because I was so young at that point. But yeah, I remember pretty much right from when we were in the building. I remember going to game feeds. Like I said, like my dad was a part of it a lot, so he would always bring me along, and it was a really good time. So would you say from the beginning it was always, because I think especially in the later years, or the more recent years, it's been a very big push for us to have this be like an outreach event. This is like invite your friends, invite your family, invite everyone you know that doesn't know the Lord, because this is going to be something that's going to draw them in. Right from the beginning, that was kind of the focus, was bringing people in.
Yeah. I think in the beginning it started off as we're going to have eat some wild game and then share a message from somebody that's not a pastor a lot of times. I remember giving one of my first little sermonettes, and I had a real heart I pulled out of a bowl, and that was part of my speech.
Yeah.
People still remember that. So
That's awesome.
it was a deer heart, not a
Not a human heart. Yeah. That's good.
But we would advertise it just Mike Langleis and I would separate the small group leaders. We'd say, you call these people and we'll invite the people in your small group. So that was our advertising really in the beginning. It was pretty...
Yeah. So kind of more of a fellowship, discipleship focus in the beginning, and it's kind of grown to be something that still has those elements, but now is more like bring other people in, because we want this to be outreach as well.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly when we brought the gospel part in, but it was it's hard for people sometimes to share the gospel, and I thought, well, you bring them, you bring the fish, we'll clean them.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. Yeah. So what were some of like kind of the big challenges you guys faced as you were trying to get this thing going?
Okay, yeah. I think people were the biggest challenge. It was a big undertaking. People would come and people would leave, and a lot of it fell on me. Finding speakers that was really the biggest challenge every year, trying to find something that was fresh and new. And we've done, I think, a pretty decent job, to not do the same exact thing every year. We've had panels, we've had brought in a bunch of deer heads, brought in speakers from other, like people that spoke at Faith Walkers. I would pursue them, and people within our association.
Yeah.
So yeah, keeping it fresh. Communication was a problem. Just trying to get the word out. I think a lot of this was before all the social media. It was really just word of mouth. I remember walking around at church just handing out flyers and trying to invite whoever, didn't run out the door.
Yeah.
I would chase them down. So yeah, finding faithful people. Yeah, I was part of the problem, trying to do too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge responsibility to do it well. That was always kind of we wanted it to be excellent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's always like a really hard thing in ministry, especially when you do something well. Like it's gonna eventually grow because you're doing it well, but then it gets to a point where you can't do it all by yourself anymore.
Yes.
And so you need to find other people who can take it. So that handing off process is really difficult.
Yeah, it is, especially for me. It was kind of, it ended up being my baby, but that became part of the problem. It was, every time I let something go, I was like, ooh, I don't,
Yeah.
will they do it well? And you know what? Some did, some didn't. It really didn't matter. God took care of, it wasn't about how well the food was or anything. It was really about the gospel.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the good thing to remember there, that it is ultimately, no matter how good we're doing with it, it's not us who's making it grow, right? It's going
Right.
to be the Lord working in it.
Yeah, and then I think coming up with a mission, that helped, and then really just talking about that vision at every meeting we had. We just, vision kind of leaked. So I just thought, we'll just tell them what, every time we get together, this is the vision. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But, if we kind of have a common vision, then we kind of know why we're doing it. And that was helpful. And that's actually changed over the years. I think being unqualified, I felt unqualified to, I don't have a lot of the skills it takes to, I can go and hunt and fish, but got to hunt and fish and be the person that does the administrative side. That's not I'm not great at that, or, it was hard to get all the volunteers, and it's really kind of been, and then we had limited time and limited budget, how it is in ministry. You really have a zero budget, so
Yeah.
that can be a challenge, to try to be creative. And
Oh yeah, you gotta find any way that you can to save a little bit of money, make it as good as possible.
and trust God. So we had the raffle that we have there that raises the money. We really give it away. It's free to first time people, which doesn't, we would lose a lot of money if that was the deal, but that's kind of been our deal to get them in the doors. It's free to those first time people, and it's a big chunk, that come for the first time. And that,
Yeah, especially as an outreach event, right?
Yeah, we
The
haven't really-
point is to get new people to come in.
we haven't raised the price for, I don't know, if ever. Maybe we went from $10 to $15.
Yeah.
So we always try to just give it away and trust God for the rest. And He's
Yeah.
really blessed it. Incredible. We've never lost money on the
Yeah.
game feed and been able to give away money. So
Yeah. Praise God. Yeah, I think that's something that's been really amazing, especially seeing it over the last couple of years. And I think I've heard the same thing the last few years of like, it's going to be a real loaves and fishes situation here
Yeah.
with just like the food, because
Yeah.
there'd be so many people coming in,
Yeah.
and it's like, how do we even prepare for something like that? Of like,
how do we we don't have enough chairs. We bring in
Yeah.
chairs from Bloomington, and it's maxed. It's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. We keep saying that. What are we gonna do next year? Because we just keep packing them in like sardines. It's beyond the room. So
Right. Yeah, we're gonna have to look for a bigger space
yeah,
maybe. Or,
but that's what I dreamed of.
yeah.
That was my dream. I just never knew I was gonna be the guy speaking on that day when the room was filled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the cancer in my life is really kind of it's kind of interesting how that came about and
Yeah.
at this time and for this purpose.
Yeah.
That's the really the cool part of the story. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Lord's timing on things is we can look at those things and feel, hopeless or beat down, but the Lord does have perfect timing. And yeah, tell me first before we kind of get into that, because I do want to spend a lot of time talking about that with you, because I think it's really, really good and really interesting. Tell me just a little bit about like kind of the growth of the game feed over the last several years of like kind of where it started, of like how many people were coming, and then kind of where it's gone, how it's changed over the years, and like kind of what do you think was the key to that growth?
yeah, yeah. As I look back, there's probably 30 people in the room. In one of the first ones, we'd meet in the North Hall, and it's pretty small, but we would do it all one day. We would make the sausage, cut it up. We'd start at noon and eat at 5 and put it all together. And yeah, so some of the key were waiting for those people that had the talents, the gifts and the talents, like the advertising or the volunteers. We were always short of volunteers up until this year. So just that was waiting for that growth. But I think, the more we got excited about it, the more people got excited about it. It kind of had its own energy, and people caught the vision and wanted to be a part of it. And, and people were invited in too. I think most of the people that are part of it, somebody asked somebody. So I think that's one of the key things. And then people would tell God stories kind of surrounding it. People would get saved, and they would tell those stories, and then they would tell more people. So that was a part of it. I think it kind of became infectious, like people just wanted to be a part of it. They knew it was something that was growing and look forward to it. As I kind of think about this year, it was kind of like, I think we had 80 volunteers this year, 80 plus volunteers, which just blows me away and humbles me. And at one point I walked up into the lobby towards it's maybe an hour and a half before the beginning, and there were so many people, I thought they started the event without me. It was such a buzz. Everyone's talking and, excited. So that to me, it was like every one of us have a little piece of the goodness of God in us. Yeah. And that day, a couple weeks ago, everyone brought it to the table, and it was like the body of Christ working together. The hands, the feet, the eyes, everything, and it was just like beautiful. It's like that's what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. It's just effortless. Like I don't know, just crazy how many people were there. And young women they did the hors d'oeuvres, which was a change this year. Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful how they just were like in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah, like we're at a stadium or something.
Yeah, it was something I didn't think was going to work, but I had to let it go.
Yeah. I thought that was a really nice addition this year, especially after the last few years, as it's just kind of exploded. The hors d'oeuvre line just got like crazy.
Yeah,
at the beginning,
we lost control of it.
Yeah,
and just even communicating, was this the hors d'oeuvres or was this the main course? People thought it was the main course, and they just wiped it out.
Yeah,
but yeah, just trying. We have a lot of meetings to talk about all of it. What we learned from each year. We've got spreadsheets and charts and some crazy things that I would never dream of having, but there's some guys on the team that are really good at it, and they track like how many people at this date, and they have these charts from all the years and stuff. And it's fun to look at, and
Yeah.
they're pretty close in the projections and stuff. So
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm not really that kind of guy, but it's fun to look at.
Yeah,
You know,
for
it's
sure.
fun to have those people on the team. So, um, yeah. So I think another part of the key growth was me giving about 5 years ago. I just decided it was becoming bigger than me, and I needed to basically replace myself. So I started giving away big chunks. You know, sometimes they would come back, people would leave, but it was necessary because, I'm not good at a lot of things. And
Yeah. What do you think was like the hardest thing for you to give up?
I think really control of making all the decisions. Now there's a whole team of us that make decisions, really like 3 of us that have the veto. So the plurality, before I would just, I don't really like to have a lot of meetings and make decisions. I just want to make a decision. So giving up control, trust in people, it was hard for me, which is good. Even like music, I was like, ooh, I don't know about guys, listening to music,
Yeah.
and it's turned out to be phenomenal, big, really, really great part of it. So people had kind of vision and took ownership and had ideas that I never would have thought of, and that made it better.
Yeah.
So
So who are some of the guys that are on this team now?
we've got Mike Russell, Keith. I'm not going to say his name right because I always say it wrong on purpose. Velishek, yeah. I call him Velishek. We've got Dave Hoffman, Jen Hoffman, Al Kachera, Brian Havel. Just trying to think all the columns here. There's probably a couple more that I'm missing, but this year I actually did very little because of what I got going on in my life. So Mike and Keith kind of separated it down the middle and took care of half, So I was really left with the freedom to just work on my message, which was a weird place to be after all these years that I could pretty much walk away other than the hunting and the fishing ahead of time. Still a big part of that. So, if I didn't, Bob Anderson's been there for years, in the kitchen. I can't think of, if I think of anyone I missed, I'll mention them. But there's incredible team of people that just laid their life down, even, their kids. And, it's been incredible just to watch those people kind of step up and take ownership and do it well. It's such a blessing and it's kind of like scary because now I'm out of a job, basically, which that was the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that Kit said a while back to me. He said, my goal is to work myself out of a job.
Yeah. But it gave me freedom to do things I always wanted to do. Like now we have T-shirts. There's things like the prayer side of it we've been weak on. And that's kind of where, that's actually probably been the weakest thing and probably the thing that has given us the greatest growth is the prayer part of it. I was able to get access to the people that were coming and prayer over each man. And the senior leadership team every week prayed over my message and the game feed. Now we have a dedicated, Brian Gunther was the dedicated prayer person for the game feed. Even at the game feed, you prayed over me. I started to lose it before my message, and you kind of brought me back. And there were, a couple other guys. There's probably hundreds of people that prayed that we don't know about. That people are coming up to me. I've been praying for you. So I think that's probably the biggest factor for its success because I track the numbers of how much meat we've fed people over the 18 years and how many people have come and how many volunteer hours and the number of hours of prayer, and which is hard to quantify. But that's, I think, has increased over the last couple of years. And, that's a big part of it, but it's kind of this unseen part that we underestimate and can kind of think we're doing something. We've definitely advertised more, so we can kind of think, oh, it's because of this, but
Yeah. Really, it's prayer has such a big impact, and it is like that unseen element that will really either make or break the success of something, right?
Yeah.
If we're willing to offer it up to God.
Right. Yeah. And just kind of realize God will get the glory. It's not us, it's easy to kind of think we're doing something,
Yeah.
Really it's God moving, in people. And so like the verse, John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. That kind of, really kind of says it. That, not that we were doing it apart from God, but you can kind of get to a point where you can try to think you're the part of the success, which, I'm not, I'm just a guy that likes to cook meat and, kind of got some vision for what God wants to do, and God has brought the people and the prayer, and
we've got skills and interests and talents that the Lord can use, but He doesn't have to use them. And so recognizing that these skills and talents that we have do really nothing apart from our abiding in Him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we changed our mission statement in the last couple of years too. To the I'll read it and then I'll talk about the purpose of the Men Game Feed is to bring men together through a shared love of outdoors. We will create an opportunity to introduce unchurched men to Jesus Christ in an atmosphere of authentic fellowship while encouraging all participants, volunteers and attenders, to deepen their faith through a shared passion. We'll be mindful that this may be one of the few times that some of these men will attend a church event. Therefore, our approach will be thoughtful yet purposeful. So I think, we've always kind of tried to think like we were coming into a church, never been in a church, and how that would feel, and create an atmosphere where it would be inviting. And I think this year, like, we had some music in the beginning, and it was time for me to kind of walk in there and talk in about 10 minutes, and all the guys were in there, like, they just, because of the music, it was a lot of secular music, but they had went in like it was a concert, and they just felt like, I was like, wow, normally we got to herd these wild cats in, and they were already in there. So I was like, wow, that worked pretty well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was.
Do you know how many people came this year?
370 were in the sanctuary, plus the workers. So I think that could be, 450 or something. It was a lot.
Right.
So
yeah, that's amazing.
And I think even just the people that were working, the volunteers, it's always been we wanted them to work together, kind of rub shoulders, and have time to be together and kind of learn more about each other, and real purposeful in that. It wasn't just about the game feed; it was about kind of the discipleship amongst the volunteers. So sometimes we have too many, and that's something we want to work on in the future, is to be real purposeful in those down times, where you can just get to know some people and rub shoulders with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's kind of transition here, because I know a big part of I guess the game feed over the last few years has gone through a lot of changes and gone through a lot of growth. And for you personally in your own life, you've been going through a lot. You've been recently diagnosed with cancer, as you mentioned. So I'd be interested to just hear a little bit more about that, about your journey with that, and kind of how that has affected you over the last. I guess I don't even know when you were diagnosed.
The whole journey kind of started last May. Mm-hmm. What the final diagnosis wasn't until September 9th, which happened to be my birthday. Kind of interesting timing, but
yeah,
it'll be a birthday I never forget. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so tell me just a little bit about that and kind of how that has maybe just changed your perspective in life recently.
Yeah, I've got prostate cancer that's metastasized to a lymph node, so it's advanced and aggressive. It's not the good one, but I've been on the hormone deprivation drugs for 7 months. Did 26 treatments of radiation in January, February of this year, and got another like 17 months of the drugs. So the drugs in themselves are part of the story.
Yeah.
But it really kind of changed my life. I've really kind of seen people like Jesus did. Like it just took the cataracts off my eyes, which was kind of incredible. It was unexpected. Kind of started off in a chair, very sad, and couldn't understand the goodness of God in it, and it was kind of in the middle of my mother's death, dealing with that too. But early on, I wrote in my journal that this health crisis could be the greatest testimony to my family and those around me. I was kind of reminded of that as you gave me some questions. I kind of looked back to my journal. That's one thing I started journaling. Like I've never journaled before. Like it just won't stop. The whole time God's been giving me a story. The entire time. And I feel like my life's kind of been refined. I've got less energy, possibly less time left, and that has made me think about my time and what I do and how I spend it. I've learned to be interruptible. It's kind of a word that I ask people, are you interruptible? And sometimes I really test people to see if they're interruptible. I call Dave Hoffman quite a bit to see if he's interruptible. But what I found is that as I am interruptible and obedient to the promptings of God, He's really brought some incredible stories in my cancer. Yeah. Stuff I never thought was going to happen. Couldn't have imagined it. After kind of grieving the loss and not seeing the goodness of God, I've come to a point where that's all I see is the goodness of God. It's been just an incredible story with incredible things. Really, life is short. That's what I've learned in this.
Yeah.
I started a prayer list mainly because I was taking so many pills, 30 at one point, and I was kind of bitter about it. I didn't want to take them. I didn't want the side effects, and just don't like pills. And I decided that instead of being bitter, I was going to start praying for people. So I started a list, and I've got over 200 people on that list now, and which is, I wasn't really great at prayer before this, but now people are like, oh, how do you, pray? I'm like, oh, I make a list and write things down, and interestingly enough, 2 people on that list have already died since I started praying for them. So, life's just so short. And then I decided that really the relationships were the most important thing. So I started to tell anyone that'll listen,
Yeah.
that I had cancer. And it was kind of interesting how that, played out. I think that might be the next question.
Yeah. I think that was the thing that I was so encouraged by, because I didn't hear about it until just right before the game feed. I think it was Tom McManus who was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, he's like going crazy. He's just telling everybody about Jesus now.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know exactly why. I just have to tell people. I don't know if it's the medication or the time. I don't know what it is, but I don't really care,
Yeah.
If you're going to get close to me, I'm going to tell you about Jesus. One of the other things is I renamed my quiet time my Cryet time. My wife and I have had our quiet time for a few years together in the morning at usually 5:30, and during cancer, there were like verses that just chased me, like Psalm 23:4 says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. that verse, we could talk hours on how that chased me. I've got, that was part of the beginning of my story at the game feed, and there's a whole bunch of other things that tied in with that. Even at the message at church, it was like 1 or 2 weeks later was Psalm 23:4. Just a confirmation. And really that quiet time with my wife has just been this intimate, the most beautiful part of our marriage, which I wouldn't, trials can sometimes tear you apart, but it's brought us together, and it's like the richest, part of 36 years of marriage. It's never been that rich. So there was all these verses about trials and thankfulness, and I needed to figure out how not to be bitter or not see the goodness of God, and I really realized that the taproot of joy is thankfulness. Or thankfulness is the taproot of joy. So I just started thanking people and being grateful, and some days I was grateful for the doorknobs, and it's all I had. I was so sick, in the middle of radiation. I guess we just found the goodness of God in cancer through reading the Word. Verses were chasing us, and then we applied them in our lives and saw the goodness. And it was really kind of the people too were the goodness of God. As I found out later, those relationships were a huge part of life and cancer and trials and fellowship. So a couple of sayings that I really kind of just went back on, and one is, you are being shaken so that the one who cannot be shaken can be seen. I just felt like, ooh, I'm definitely being shaken. My faith is, it was kind of up here, but now it's, really being tested, and that's so God can be seen. And what we run from pursues us, and what we face transforms us. And that was really kind of, being transformed is what we need to be. We need to look like different people. We shouldn't be the same person, and had to figure out how to do that. So and then turning that pain into purpose. I just knew sitting in a chair and feeling sorry for myself is not what God wanted. So
yeah, I think it's amazing. It's incredible how God can use the hardest moments in our lives and like the biggest trials to just completely shift our perspective,
right,
and completely change who we are and how we think and how we act. So tell me a little bit more just about how the Lord has used this situation in your story and this trial to kind of open doors for you to go out and share the gospel.
Right. That's really the greatest part of this story. It's not about Jim Palo's cancer. It's about the gospel and what God has done for me, and the opportunities have been unbelievable. Every time I mentioned to somebody, I pretty much told everyone I had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And hold it back. I wasn't going to be that person that wasn't going to share it, because I could see the value. And there's even people I called that were kind of not really in my inner ring, and I would just call them because that could create a relationship. If rather than them finding out about it through other people, I just made phone calls. So that was the beginning of it. And what I found is, when you say you have cancer, people just stop and listen. Like they freeze, like a fainting goat. They will not leave until you say goodbye. So I, ask them questions, and it often ends up sharing the gospel, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah,
it was like this gift of people's undivided attention that I've never had before in my life.
Wow.
I don't totally understand it, but I'll take it. There was one point when I was in radiation, and I was so sick I could go to my radiation appointment for the day, but I couldn't do anything else. And the doorbell would ring and somebody would be selling something. It might be cable or fiber optic or garbage cans and I actually at one point ran out of Bibles, which was kind of a crazy deal. There was one guy was Hispanic, and I found a Bible from a previous trip to Honduras, and it had everything I'd already shared with him was in it. All the questions he asked, and so I was able to give him that Bible. And there was one point where one of those guys actually came back because I canceled what I was signed up for. I had a little brain fog in the radiation, and so he came back, and I was able to kind of clean up the gospel story with the thief on the cross. How he couldn't do anything more. He couldn't, he couldn't go to church. He couldn't give money or go to Bible studies. That he was just going to be in paradise with Jesus, just because the man in the middle said he was going to be there, which was kind of cool because I was like, oh, I should have said that. And God brought him back, He was in my kitchen and he was asking questions. It was just incredible, it was like days like that. And then there's a kind of really cool story. It's still in the middle of being written. So I might read it. It's complex and a little bit long. So I met Larry in the radiation waiting room. Larry is 83 years old. I was there every day for 5.5 weeks, 26 radiation treatments. I began a conversation after the first couple of days. The waiting room of the oncologist's office is a place filled with fear and anxiety for most people. Over the next 5 weeks, we ran into each other 4 out of the 5 days a week, even in the time slots when they did not line up. One day I had to move my slot. Guess who was there? Larry. Some days our wives were there because we were unable to drive. One day my wife and I arrived at the radiation clinic, and as we got out of the car, I could hear air coming out of the tire. I sent her a discount tire for the repair. It was not repairable. It required 2 tires. I had to wait 45 minutes after my session was over. I stayed, and guess who showed up? Larry. Actually, I was going to try to walk over there, but I was too weak to even walk, so I was stuck in there. It was just all these crazy deals where Larry and his wife were brought into our lives, and it just kept going. A lot of times our wives would be in the lobby waiting, and they would talk, and our wives didn't drive us every day, but there were days where we were so ill we couldn't, and a lot of times they ended up in the same room at the same time. And then when I finished my treatments, Larry called and congratulated me, and when he finished his, which was about 10 days later, I called. They gave us their address and phone number, told us to stop by, and we continued to talk to each other every other week. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a funeral at a church in Cottage Grove on a Tuesday. I talked to Larry on that Friday, which was just before Easter. I asked him if he was going to go to church, and he said yes. Guess what church Larry goes to? The one I went to the funeral at. Yeah, I was like, whoa, it just keeps coming, It's like, so it, and then as I was thinking about it this morning, we had delayed my radiation by maybe 3-4 weeks. So my youngest daughter was getting married on New Year's Eve, and so we had pushed it out to that time. So it lined right, almost up with Larry's. And there's probably a bunch of other things that happened too. So the story is still being written, and we're going to get together with Larry and his wife this summer. I'm excited to see what happens as the relationship grows. So I think one of the stories is really maybe the greatest story is how I've changed in this whole thing. Just like this crazy transformation. Can't stop talking about Jesus, and there's a bunch of other ones, just not enough time to tell them all, and how God's brought them. And
I think the amazing thing about it as you're talking that's really standing out to me is like even in the times where you didn't have the strength to go anywhere, the Lord was still bringing people into your life. And it's not necessarily that the Lord has brought more people into your life since this happened, but it's that your eyes have been open to all the people that the Lord has brought into, and you've been willing to step into that. And I think that's just so encouraging.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. I think it's all around us. It has been. We're too busy. We got a list, we're not interruptible and we're not obedient.
Yeah.
I think we just get used to, so now if God prompts me to call somebody or text them, I do it. I did that a lot when I was stuck in a chair, so sick. I would send a text to somebody else, or on the worst days I'd send it to like 5-6 people, and all of a sudden I was encouraged, by doing stuff outside of myself, which was kind of an interesting deal,
Yeah.
It's kind of a tool that God gave me to get the focus off me. It was kind of about the same time that I think it was Deacon that talked about the mirror in the window. Is that who spoke? I can't remember who gave that.
I think so, yeah.
But that's kind of what it was, is, I could look in that mirror and look at myself and woe is me, or I can, look out the window and who can I encourage? And so it was kind of like I was hearing stuff and just doing it, rather than just hearing stuff and, going on with life.
Yeah.
I was kind of stuck in a spot where all I could do was hear. I guess I could have ignored it, but, it was exciting to see the hand of God so immediate, there are times where God would say, go this way on your walk after radiation. I had to build my strength up, so I'd go on walks, started walking up and down the block the first day, and then it was, 3 miles in the end. But there were times where I'd run into people at the same exact spot that I knew, but they would be coming out of their house to go on a walk, and I ended up sharing the gospel there. It was just like this crazy God stuff, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
Mike Langley's and I would talk a lot, and I'd be like, I got another God story, and he would be excited, he'd be encouraged. So it was really surprisingly an encouraging time, and hard, but when you're being obedient, it's pretty exciting, most of the time probably.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, right? It is so encouraging to see you stepping into that, and encourages other people, because I think we let kind of that fear or that indifference or that idea that we have more time to kind of give us excuses out of these things. And so when some of those things are kind of taken away from you, and you do step into it, and we hear those stories, it just encourages every single other believer, like every member of the church, to be like, I can do that too.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, I was like, I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm going to try. If I'm going to die and go to heaven, I'm taking as many people with as I can.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I might have a long time. I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing, and maybe to kind of wrap up this conversation, maybe you could just share a little bit about what your hope is going forward.
Yeah. There's a song, Oceans. You've probably heard that. I'll read some verses out of it. It kind of is my vision, like in cancer, I've just somebody asked what song really is your favorite song, and I'm like, every song, it all speaks to me, like in this profound way, like I weep when I hear things, So here's some of the lyrics. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters. Wherever you call me, take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I will call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. In Acts 2:17, it says, in the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your young men will see visions, your old men will dream dreams. Really what I want is to not wait to share the gospel once a year, but that it would be at the center of our lives every day. Our words in our lives matter. How we proclaim Jesus in both how we proclaim Jesus in both is the heart of the gospel. I don't want to become a grumpy old bitter man that retires and disappears and chases pleasure. That I would finish strong alongside old and young men who are excited to love God and love people. It's exciting to be around people that are excited about eternal subjects, not just sports, weather, etc. And the question I ask is, what if we met and all talked about the God stories? How we saw God in our trials, where we saw God moving real kingdom stuff. Intimacy is difficult for men. I think if we did this, we could start a revolution. So that's my dream.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and being willing to just step into all of this and to have these conversations and to really live your life in the way that I think we all want to and we all wish we could. And to be an encouragement for all of us. Yeah. Well, it's been a really powerful conversation, and one that I'm really thankful for. And so I don't want it to end. I want to keep talking, but I do really appreciate you coming on today and sharing all this. And my prayer is, I think it'll be one that's answered, is that everyone who listens to this will be encouraged by it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. It's hard, but it's very. Never been so encouraged in my life, and never had so many words.
Yeah.
It's not really my thing to write, but I've written so much and been so. It's been like a fire hose. God, just crazy. It's just crazy. It's all I can say. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And all glory to God.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this has been an encouragement to you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.